Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back with today's question. This one says, hey, Vinny, a lot of my colleagues are starting to use Chat GPT to formulate scripts for their work with clients. I know we need to double check the work the AI does before using it. What are your thoughts on this? This is pretty cool. What a neat question. So, yeah, this is tricky for me because I work quite differently with folks. My method of intervention, there's a pretty big distinction I need to draw here. Then, as we explore this, I think you'll have the context you need to understand why I'm reaching the conclusions I am. So the first thing here is so I work in a way that's 100% organic with the client in front of me. I don't use scripts, protocols, deepeners, inductions, techniques. I don't use any of that stuff, right? Hypnotic language, right? And here's the thing: if you do, that's great. If you're getting the results you want, fantastic. There's no judgment for me on that. So this is just what works for me. It works really fast and fun. It's really dynamic, right? And if you're working in a more traditional way, it kind of reminds me like the script discussion I hear a lot of times in our industry. There's a couple different camps, right? So some say like scripts are terrible, you should never use them, they're stifling your development. Some people say, well, they're a great tool you can use and they'll help you learn hypnotic language and then and things like that, right? And then some other folks say, I use them with clients, I get great results, what's your problem, right? So somewhere along the line there's going to be some truth. Who knows? I just say people work differently. And I think one observation here that might help clarify how I think about this is you might not read a script at a client if you're working in a more traditional way, but to some extent what you're doing is scripted, right? It's kind of like an actor on a stage. Maybe they've memorized and internalized their lines and they know the gestures they're going to make, and now they're on a stage doing that, right? There's probably acting techniques. I don't really know that world, but you can imagine how we might be saying, well, we're not using scripts, but then they use the same pre-talk, the same techniques with everybody based off of a presenting problem or whatever, right? So I think it's important just to be aware, like the question that I think's of most value here is like, okay, is my method of intervention, is the logic of it self-referencing to the system, right? So like, you're my client, I grab you by the hand, I walk you through a system, and I'm hoping along the way you have a series of experiences that helps you. Once you get up the other end, okay, a change occurred, right? And we're kind of guessing, right? There's some guessing involved, right? Because all we have at that point is the presenting problem anyway. And so we're pointing at the symptoms. And we're just hoping we set this up in just the right way to give you the experience you need to make new choices once you're up the other end of this. So yeah, I mean, using an AI for that, I don't know, maybe it'll save you some time. I feel like if you're going to work in that traditional way, you probably want to be as hands-on with it as possible, because there's going to be all these like little micro learnings that happen that give you access to a level of mastery you wouldn't otherwise have. So I think that's probably a pretty normal part of the learning process. Whereas, so my approach though is quite different, right? The logic of how I work with folks, it's all client referencing. It's client referencing logic, right? So the client is the script, the pre-talk, the deepen, etc., right? They're everything. They're the induction, right? Just to use those metaphors. So what's cool about that approach is that we can get to the real problem very quickly. And once we just work on that, the symptom goes away. So it's just a bit different. It's a little bit hard for me to speak specifically to how to utilize this in a more traditional way, just given that like I don't do that. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in your question here that's really important to consider. Again, no judgment for me. Work however you want to. I think the thing to consider here is that it might still all fall under an umbrella of a self-referencing logic within a system versus the client in front of you. So if you're going to try to work faster and more effectively with clients, I would start to introduce that more. Right? The person in front of you, how do you be mindful of them? How do you start to understand their behavior better? How do you help them understand their behavior better? Because like if it's like you're doing a smoking cessation session, you can't quit for them, right? Like they have to quit. And your tools can't quit for them either, right? Like that person has to make a choice and stay committed and do all the things they need to do. So the more I think you can embrace that part of change work, I think your results are going to be a lot more effective. And I think that's where I would say start to explore, right? I would probably, AIs are cool, but I don't think they're going to give you the bang for your buck you're looking for here, in short. So I hope that helps, folks. Yeah, that was a fun question. Yeah, please keep these coming. These are an absolute blast. So take care, everybody.